Cool, you're live.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. It is our very first Health Try and Chat. It's a little bit before 10 a.m., so we're just going to wait for people to join us, and then I will do some introductions, and we will start our session. So give it a couple minutes, and we will get going. Welcome, good morning to those of you who are joining us. Great to have you here. We're going to wait for a few more people, then I'm going to introduce the session, and we will introduce you to our lovely guest Mira in a second. And yeah, we're very excited about hosting this as the first Health Try and Chat for the South Asian Heritage Month. It's such an amazing series of events that we're all involved in, and I'm really excited to be sharing some of the sessions with you over the next few weeks. So every Friday morning there'll be something at 10 a.m. It'll either be me or I'll have a friend joining me, Faria J, on one of the sessions. And there's some fantastic South Asian health professionals joining me in each week. So I'm super excited about hosting these sessions. We've got a couple of minutes before we officially start, so I'm going to just wait for people to join us, and then we will introduce the session and our lovely guest Mira. In the meantime, get a drink of water, make yourself a cup of chai, be ready for a lovely morning, a start to the morning. And actually, please try and find somewhere you can relax and enjoy, particularly the first half of this session with Mira, because we're going to do a lovely mindful practice. And yeah, it'll be great. And I have offered this session that we'll do a little bit in Gujarati. I didn't tell you this, Mira, but if you want to, feel free. I'm going to try and do a little bit, and then we'll just try and keep it inclusive that way. Great. It's 10 a.m. on a Friday morning, a sunny Friday morning. I just want to say good morning. Welcome to our very first Health Try and Chat for South Asian Heritage Month. I'm absolutely delighted to be here and have my guest, Mira Manek, joining me this morning. Mira is a writer, a cook, Ayurvedic health practitioner, and she's written 2 books, The Saffron Salt and which is going to talk a little bit more about. And Mira's going to basically make a little bit of Thai for us and share some mindfulness practices. Mira, like me, is Gujarati. We both have a connection with Uganda. My dad's from Uganda and Mira's lived there. So we've had a similar background in lots of ways, lots of different in lots of ways. And we're both very passionate about food and travel and wellness in a holistic sense. So I'm going to pass you over to Mira. Mira, would you like to go for it?
Good morning. Thanks for the introduction, Toral. Wonderful to be back on here, to be on here with you. And yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful morning, Friday morning. So I thought I'd start today. I'm going to obviously make a chai, which I've already put the water on boil, but I thought I'd start with a couple of paragraphs from my book, speaking about mindfulness and speaking about rituals that bring you to the present moment, that elevate your life, that add. What I write in the book is they add sort of a spring in your step. If you're going through a normal sort of, you're okay, you're sort of gliding through life. And if you're going through a really hard time, then practicing these rituals every day or every week can really help you ride through those really dark waves and dark times a little bit more easily and with more, a little more grace, I think. So rituals can be anything, and this book covers so many different things, but essentially they're a way to bring us back to ourselves, and as mindfulness goes, bring us to the present moment. So whatever you're doing, trying to be present with whatever you're doing. And that's something that I have always struggled with. My mind wanders, and I think sometimes these sorts of whether I became a breathwork practitioner or wrote a book on rituals, sometimes these things come about because we ourselves have struggled with things. And I've definitely struggled with being mindful, meditating, or really just being with whoever I am, because my mind, my eye, everything just wanders and I'm always in another land. So bringing myself to the present moment is really important to me, because that's when I feel most at ease and happiest. So on page 2 of my book, I write, rituals are beautiful practices that keep us in tune with ourselves. They need no routine or pattern, nor are they bound by time. They keep us in harmony with the seasons. They provide purpose, they ground us. You can pick and choose, find your own set of rituals to embed in daily life, and so create your own language, something you can revert to, like a mother tongue. The whole purpose of this book is for you to choose what you can do and what you want to do and what works for you. For example, taking a moment to say thank you in the morning, a breathing exercise or yoga, a pause before a meeting, remembering to chew, sipping hot water. You can curate your own playlist of practices, which you can edit or add to. And actually, it's sort of what you said just now, Doral, which is a whole holistic element of wellness, which is that it doesn't really work when you do one thing. It has to be all, I just realized my camera is not super straight. It has to be all different things at once, because if it's not, then one area of your life will cause you, if your digestion isn't right and you're not eating properly, then if your digestion isn't right and if you're not eating properly, then you'll feel bad. You won't feel great in the day. You won't feel right in your body. And if you're feeling scattered and you woke up with a headache and you got angry at someone and you slept like that and you woke up like that, your day won't go well either. So it's actually just a whole holistic spectrum of well-being and wellness. So let's take a couple of deep breaths, because I think for me, breath work is what really brings me to the present moment. Breath work, I think, is the quickest way for our physiology to change our psychology. And there's so much science now to prove these practices, these ancient practices that, both Chinese medicine and Ayurveda and yoga, pranayama, what we call pranayama, spoke about so many years ago, and they're still timeless because they work. So let's take a few deep breaths. I'm not going to go too much into different types of breath work. I do that on my Instagram, and I do also study it and learn it and do my workshops every week. But it's just such a great way to ground ourselves. So just feel your feet on the ground. Feel the heat on your skin. I'm guessing it's warm wherever you are. Feel the air on you as you inhale. Take a deep inhale and feel the air enter your nostrils and your body. And take a really deep breath. Take a deep inhale. And when you exhale this time, just sigh it out. And just let go of whatever you woke up with. Let go of whatever is holding you back today. Try and think of what will make today a great day. And think of the sun. Think of how much happiness the sunshine brings. And think of how you can emanate that sun, and you can sort of have that glow of energy and light within you today. And take another deep breath, having let go. And this time breathe out through your nostrils. And again, a deep inhale and out through the nostrils again. Sometimes, more often than not, it only takes a few deep breaths to just bring ourselves to the present moment. And the reason I choose to do this now is firstly because it's morning, but also because before you eat, before you drink, it's really great to take those few deep breaths, because we often don't know that we are in our stress system. We might be just a little bit scattered, but that might mean that we're in fight or flight mode. And when we're in that mode, when we're in our nervous system, that is the sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight or flight mode, the hormones aren't working the way they should. So digestion, for example, isn't as great. So you want to, by taking ourselves out of the stress system before we eat, we're actually doing ourselves such a huge favor. I'm doing our digestion a huge favor, because we'll not only be able to come mindfully to the present moment, to the food that's in front of it, to whoever we're sitting with, but also we'll be able to calm our nervous system down so that the digestion can actually scientifically work better. So that's why I did that right now. And also, if you are looking at taking any practice into your day-to-day life, taking a few deep breaths before each meal, or just during the day, whenever you feel scattered, stressed, angry, irritated, any of those things, agitated, just center yourself by sitting down for a couple of minutes and just taking a few very, very deep breaths. And if you do feel stressed, then try and elongate that exhale. So it's a shorter inhale, maybe 5-second inhale and a 7-second exhale, because that's also another breath to really calm our system down. So I hope that's sort of a little quick and easy tip you can take into your day and week ahead. I feel like if I remember to do that, it really allows me to ground myself and feels like my day will actually go better. So in terms of chai now, let's just move this a little bit so I can show you what I'm doing. Right, I can't exactly see what I'm doing because this little camera is very small. So I put some water to boil. It's a very small amount of water. It's about 1/4 of a glass. Now you can make chai however you like. Now, if you are making, I'm going to make a proper chai today with like grated ginger and things. But if you don't want to, like, you know, grate your ginger, sometimes it feels like too much of a ritual and we don't always have time, then I often use my chai spice mix, which is 7 spices and coconut sugar. So I'm going to use both today. Rather than putting sugar or sweetener or something else into it, I'm actually going to use the coconut sugar and spices, but also add the grated ginger. And just to let you know, there are so many different ways. I'm sure a lot of you already know this, but there are so many different ways of making chai. And this is just one of them. Grating ginger is a very common one, but there are so many other ways, like, for example, crushed cardamom pods or just cardamom powder and just boiling it with that, or just adding your own blend of spices, whatever that may be. Now I'm going to add about 3/4 of a mug of almond milk, but you can use any milk you like. Oat obviously tastes delicious. I don't use oat a lot just because it feels rather rich and heavy if I use that much in a tea. I use oat if I'm topping up my, you know, tea with just a little bit of milk, but when it's a full-on latte or lots of milk, it just feels too heavy and too rich. So I'm using almond milk today, but use whichever milk you like. Of course, normal dairy milk is fine as well. So I'm just putting that on boil. Now, while that happens, I'm going to grate the ginger into, now if you're using dairy, it's better to grate the ginger into hot water first and then add the milk, because the milk can start becoming curdled if you put ginger into that milk. But with almond or any non-dairy milk, it seems to be fine. So literally just grate like 1 centimeter of ginger, I think, not even that much. You can make this completely with just ginger and no chai spices. Or if you have cinnamon, for example, you can add a bit of cinnamon. Contrary to what most people think, I don't know what's happening with my camera, apologies. Contrary to what most people think, cinnamon is not the most predominant spice in a chai spice mix. It's usually ginger and cardamom. So ginger normally would come first. In my spice, it comes first. And then it's cardamom. But actually, if you go to different parts of India, for example, when you go to Punjab, you'll find people, and the chai walas and street vendors there will make chai with a lot more cardamom. So they'll crush these cardamom pods and it'll taste a lot more elaichi, which is what we call cardamom. And in other parts, you'll find them grating the ginger and not actually adding much more. But the one thing that they have in common is that they're karak, which is a lot of tea leaves in there. So I'm actually going to put loose leaf tea. You can put a whole tea bag in and that's totally fine. So for 1 cup, I would say one heaped teaspoon or 1 tea bag of normal English breakfast, ideally strong tea, and then just let it boil and let the tea brew in there. Now, my chai spice mix can be made with just milk and no tea leaves if you don't want the caffeine. So in the evening, for example, it's a great one to have, but also for children and even pregnant mums, pregnant women even, or anyone really. But I'm just going to add a teaspoon, or well, 2 teaspoons this is, to my large cup of tea. So that will be extra spicy. See how much spice you can take. You know, I feel like ginger is a very, very important ingredient for me because I love the taste of grated ginger, freshly grated ginger. And do grate it, because if you actually put pieces of ginger and chunks of ginger, the juice doesn't actually come through. So often when you go to restaurants and you order a ginger and lemon with hot water, they'll put slices and you'll often find that that ginger flavor doesn't come through because the juice that's extracted only gets extracted when you either juice the ginger or you grate it. And grating it, if you grate enough of it and then go like this, you'll be able to squeeze out the juice from the ginger sort of the ginger bits or whatever you grated, the grated ginger, and it's quite amazing to see that. So I've grated that into the tea, and I've got the tea leaves in there, and I've got a bit of chai spice mix, and I've got almond milk. So I'm going to let that boil. Now what you want to do is put that on a medium to a low heat. And then once it starts bubbling on the side and comes up, I'll show you in 1 second, you basically reduce the heat and then you let it boil again. So you want to triple boil it if you can, because you really do want it to be quite strong. I'll just move my camera so I can show you.
I think it's great, like you're explaining these things, because I kind of try making a ritual in that last lockdown, that winter lockdown that we had in the UK. And I know people were joining us from other countries, but we had a lockdown in the UK from January to March. And my ritual was, because I'd just been in hospital as well, my mum and dad would come and we would make chai. And it was such a ritual, and it was so cold as well this winter. And we had your lovely spices. And we basically kept, like you said, trying different versions just to kind of come up with what our favorite.
Yeah, there really are so many different ways of doing it. I mean, for example, mint leaves is something people don't really tend to use or don't really know that they can use. So look, it's come up now, so I'm going to put it on a lower heat and then increase it again. So again, let it boil up and then reduce it again. It is quite a ritual actually, and then you reduce it again and then you let it come up again. And it, doing this, and I have to say I don't do this boiling part every single day. It's quite wonderful to be able to do it, but I don't do it every single day. I sometimes just put the chai spice mix into my cup of tea and that's how I have it. But doing this really reminds me and takes me back to India and to seeing the chai wallahs making chai, or to my childhood, seeing my mum make this chai. And there's something really therapeutic about doing it. So doing this also, it makes the whole process of having the chai a lot more of a ritual as well, like you said, Toral. And again, winter or summer, I feel like even in this heat, the peak of heat in India, you're kind of wanting that chai in the middle of the day. I don't even know what makes you want it. It's like quite sweet. It's got that sort of strength to it. And then you drink it and lots of spices and you literally feel like, oh, wow, I've just like woken up. It's almost like you've had that 1 hour nap when you haven't had it.
No, definitely. And I think there's something, as a cultural thing, I think it's, for me also, it just reminds me of home and who I am. Even though I'm born and brought up in this country, like it brings me back to my connection with our culture and our heritage. And I think it's one of those things that, and I have to be honest, I've only recently learned to make chai properly in my 40s because my mum always did it, and it's been such a good practice for me. And I think, so I just think that it's something that we can all use as a really lovely way to connect back to ourselves. And if we have that in mind, and the thing is, you have to watch it, otherwise it does boil over. And like for me, that's that moment where I have to just stand there and be still and watch the chai so it doesn't boil over.
Yeah, exactly. You do have to actually, one of those accidents that actually did happen when I was really young. I mean, it wasn't my thing. I remember being there, but my mum was about to pour it out and my sister knocked into her and it went onto her and she still got a bit of a scar on her shoulder from that burn. So you do have to be careful because it's really boiling hot. So if you've got any kids in the house, be very careful. And also just boiling over, because it does often boil over. You put it on slightly higher and then it'll come up and it'll just boil over. But that's not a big deal. I guess that's fine. Now, let me show you how dark it is. It's quite strong.
Yeah.
And if you're just using the chai spice, which of course you can, it will be quite light. It'll be like milky, what I would call masala milk, but it actually does taste like the chai that you get in cafes, only it's a little more spicy, because I think what you get in places like Starbucks is it just tastes like cinnamon sugar or something, which is obviously moreish because it's got so much sugar, but it just does not taste authentic. And it's for example, the ginger and cardamom doesn't ever come through. So it's important to have those spices and really understand that spice mixes in India are full of different things. And like you said, Dora, we can use so many different things. I said mint leaves, but also lemongrass leaves is such a delicious thing to add to chai. It's delicious. It's you literally just chop the lemongrass leaves up and boil it together. And then bay leaves. My friend taught me to use bay leaves, and apparently in different parts of India they use bay leaves. So I use that sometimes. So I'll just put one bay leaf while I'm boiling up the chai. It's delicious. So here we are. I'm going to pour it. Well, I'm going to strain it. Hopefully I can do this on camera here. So I'm going to strain it through my strainer, what we call a gaini, and it comes right to the top because I've measured it well, which I don't always do. and it's steaming hot. And then you can add, if you haven't added the spice mix, then you can add your sugar or whatever sweetener you want. I mean, you don't have to. Some people like it without. I've already got my chai spice mix, which has the coconut sugar. And coconut sugar, if anyone's wondering, is quite an earthy sugar. It's quite dark, but it also has that flavor of, if you've ever tasted jaggery, which is what we call gur in Gujarati, and it's got this earthy sweetness and not as bitter as molasses, but sort of more earthy than brown sugar. And it spikes it's still sugar, but it spikes your blood sugar less quickly. So it's slightly better for you as well. And obviously got more minerals because it's coconut sugar. So yeah, that's a chai, everyone. I'm going to take a
I wish we had smell-o-vision so everyone could smell. I'm lucky we have Mira spices at home, but I wish everyone could partake in the tea. But we're online again, so it's fine. But I wanted to take this opportunity because we're going to be talking about the immune system and just really to share, kind of ask you for your thoughts on how, as a Indian person, how can we support our immune system through Ayurvedic practices? I know we talked about breath work, and one of the things, I write quite a lot about the kind of effect of breath on the vagus nerve and kind of our parasympathetic nervous system, which you mentioned, and like how it brings us into that rest and digest mode rather than flight or fight. But do you want to share a little bit more about your thoughts on the immune system from an Ayurvedic perspective?
Yeah, and I think going back, that takes me back to, the whole holistic way of living. So if you have, for example, your food right and you feel like you're eating well, but if you're super stressed all the time and not realizing that you're stressed, then you're not digesting that food well, nor are you absorbing the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients in the food. And therefore, your immune system will be affected by that. And sometimes gut issues are the biggest cause, and digestion issues are the biggest cause of disease in this world. And that's because, when you're stressed, for example, you can get things like leaky gut syndrome. And I mean, those are caused by different things, but stress in its massive form can cause such issues. So looking at the whole spectrum is really important. So figuring out, are you stressed? And if you are stressed, then are you doing anything about it? And what are you doing about it? Are you sleeping well? So sleep is probably the biggest thing. When anyone sleeps better, they wake up and they look like a new person when they haven't slept for a while. And actually during the pandemic, I've been sleeping so much better, and I feel like that's one thing I just can't compromise on anymore, because I feel like fully myself. And when you're missing that big ingredient in life, i.e. sleeping well, you really do function on a bit of you're functioning on different, on adrenaline, you're functioning on having caffeine, you're functioning on things that you're basically not allowing your body to repair itself overnight, and that will affect your immune system, or well, anyone's immune system. So looking at the whole spectrum, and if you are stressed, then whether it's breath work, whether it's qigong, going for a walk, connecting with nature, because nature is where we came from, so therefore going for a walk, you're connecting to the source, as it were, or just going for a coffee with a friend, anything. It doesn't need to be called a ritual necessarily, but inserting these things in your life and making them a part of your week. On a Monday, I'll go for a walk. On a Tuesday, I might be like, okay, once a week I have to do sitting in a coffee shop reading a book, or once a week I have to do sitting in my garden and taking a few deep breaths. If you insert these little rituals, then those practices will uplift you, not just on a day-to-day basis, but like I said before, throughout those very difficult times of life, because you'll come back to those, and those will center you and ground you when your day is sort of a bit of a mess, or life feels like a bit of a mess. And that's where my rituals came into play. I write about this in my book, but I was living in Dubai, and I was going through a very lonely period, and actually I wasn't doing these rituals as daily rituals, but I clung on to things that helped me. So whether it was sitting outside in the sunshine, because I had that freely available there, or doing yoga, and I literally did yoga almost every day because it helped me so much, or just doing, agarbatti, or the incense sticks in my apartment, or, doing different things that actually made me think, oh no, these are the things that make me happy. So listening to your mind, your body, and understanding what it is that is bringing you moments of happiness, rather than thinking of the long-term happiness, taking each day at a time. So that's where I think, I'm sorry, I went off on a happiness tangent, but actually
No,
immunity, I feel like it's so many different things. It's not just, and obviously you have to insert those extra things like supplements and eating well and making sure you have gaps between meals, so that you're not compromising the digestive system.
No, and I think we have to remember there's so many different aspects of health, and and the interesting thing is we're moving as a society back to those ancient practices, back to the more holistic kind of health perspective, rather than from this very kind of medical perspective, reliance on drugs and pills. And I'm very evidence-based science, but I think we've forgotten so much of the ancient wisdom, and that now we're coming back to it, and the evidence is out there to prove it. So I think it's really important. And also there's something, as you said, about rituals to bring ourselves back to ourselves and to calm us and to ground us and to remind us of who we are, because ultimately we don't need to have all these Western practices when we've got such a rich kind of array of practices within our own culture, which the world has taken on. If you think about, how much the Western world appropriated, like yoga and Ayurveda and Chai, and actually these are things which are really ancient wisdoms from our culture, and we can make use of them. So thank you, Jerry. Do you want to share a little bit more about where people can find you and your book as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, my Instagram, which is where I do a lot of my things and lives and share recipes, is Mira Manek, at Mira Manek, same as what it's spelled below without the space. And my chai brand is at Chai by Mira online, on Instagram, and also the website is chaibymira.com, and my books are available on my website as well as on Amazon. My first book was a cookbook called Saffron Soul, and my second book is called, as Toral said, Prajna or Pragya, Ayurvedic Rituals for Happiness, which also has recipes, but it focuses on a whole spectrum of things. So yeah, I hope that helps. And yeah, if you were looking for recipes and ideas, I do that all on Instagram.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, Mira, particularly I know you're going away today. So I hope that all of you have enjoyed your time with Mira and her making chai and sharing some of the Ayurvedic rituals and some of the things from her book. And thank you so much, Mira. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about nutrition and not just nutrition, but immune health. But feel free to leave the studio whenever you need to leave, Mira. And I'm going to show my screen. Take care. Have a great weekend. I'm going to now share my screen. So hopefully this works. Oops. Right, let me just go back to... Wait, how does this work? Excuse me a second, everyone. I'm still working out how this works. Okay. Entire screen, window. Aha, there we go. There we go. Yes. So you can't see me right now, but you can see the presentation. So I want to talk a little bit about the nutrition and the immune system and kind of other lifestyle aspects. So, So I'm a nutritional scientist. I write about food and health, and I'm founder of the brand Urban Kitchen, and I specialize in optimizing health and disease through prevention, through improving your food, your diet, and lifestyle. I actually went to medical school and realized it was not the career for me, and then worked in research for a while and left and did a master's in nutritional medicine. And that was about 16 years ago. So I've been working in the nutrition field for a very long time and look at a lifestyle and nutrition for kind of longer than it's become fashionable. But what I really, I'm also a functional medicine practitioner, and from my training, I really appreciate this holistic experience of health. So it's not just what we eat, but how we sleep, as Mira and I were discussing, looking at your stress levels, exercise, all of those things, and all these things impact our immune system. So I'm just going to share a little bit more about that. So I just wanted to quickly talk a little bit about our immune system and share about what it actually is, so you can understand when I talk about some other things. So there are two parts to our immune system. There's the innate immune system, which is our first line of defense. So that would be our skin, our nasal hair, all those sorts of things. So in context of this COVID world that we're living in, your external would be your nasal hair, which protects you from absorbing, picking up these COVID, or cold virus particles and from it going into your system. Now, the second line is called your adaptive immune system, and that's kind of your immunological cells. So that's your white blood cells, your T cells, your B cells, your phagocytes, and that's all the kind of cells running around your body. And that's basically our immune system. So we have the external, we have the internal, we have the first line of defense, and we have the second line of defense. And that's kind of how our body works. We have these external barriers like our skin, and that protects us. But even like, if you think about now, that's why wearing a mask can help, because it helps stop these virus particles entering our mouth and nose. So this looks like a very complicated slide, but what I really want to talk about is our immune system. About 70% of it is based in our gut, which is our gut microbiome. These are the beneficial bacteria that live within our colon, and they're so important for not just our immune system, but for our overall health. And our diet can affect the immune system via these beneficial bacteria. And the link between them and what we eat can affect our immune system. So there's something called short-chain fatty acids, which are produced when we eat fibrous food. The beneficial bacteria digest it and make these amazing metabolites. It protects us against pathogens, which are kind of other bacteria and things like that. And it helps to train our immune system. So don't worry, I know this is a really complicated slide, but I just wanted to show you how actually sophisticated our immune system is. And when people simplify it, it's not just one thing. You can't just boost it. It's a whole ecosystem. It's a whole environment. And we need to think about looking after all of it. So eating for optimal health. What is the best way to eat? So many people talk about the Mediterranean diet pattern. And in our South Asian food, we're really lucky because it's a diet that's naturally high in fruits and vegetables, and also in beans and legumes, seeds and nuts. Now, fortunately, it's not as high in whole grains as we would hope. A lot of our chapati and other things, we've been using kind of refined flour, white flour. So what we want to do is come back to using like stone ground and whole grains and things like that. And actually what I've done been working on over the last few weeks is a South Asian dietary plate, which is not quite ready yet, but I will hopefully share it in the next few weeks, and really showing what alternatives you can use to really help support our health and use whole grains, and where we can pull back from using these refined grains. Now, I know in Indian cooking, we don't always use, we use a variety of different oils, including coconut oil. Now, in the Mediterranean diet pattern, which has been shown to be one of the healthiest patterns of eating, we use olive oils. I actually use olive oil for cooking pretty much everything. And it doesn't have, if you use not extra virgin, if you just use olive oil, it's actually doesn't taste that much. And because it's the type of oil it is, it expands to twice its size when you heat up. So you actually need slightly less of it. So that's quite important. Herbs and spices. Our cultural food is so full of herbs and spices, whether it's turmeric and ginger and garlic and all of these wonderful things. And all of these things are full of polyphenols, which are really, really important antioxidants, which support not just our immune system, but protect us from many other diseases. Now, so I know some of us are vegetarians, so we don't eat fish and seafood, but fish and seafood is super important for both our immune system, our overall health, and our brain health. And if you don't eat them, you can actually supplement, and you can have a vegan supplement too, which comes from algae, which is actually what the fish eat to make the kind of omega-3 fatty acids, which our body needs. Poultry, which is chicken, eggs, cheese, and yogurt. And again, our Indian diet is quite high in cheese and yogurt. So it's not just that, it's the fermented thing. It's the live yogurt that we make at home. It's the chash. It's all these fermented things that we do. And we're so lucky that we make paneer and all of these things. And these are all kind of important sources of protein, but they're, also full of good bacteria. And again, we need to just reduce the meat and the sweets. I know many people don't eat meat, so that's easier, but we have to be careful about eating all those laddus and all those things, because they're not necessarily the best for our immune system. So how do we actually support immune system? And this is where I've kind of got this Bupa healthy plate, and hopefully in the next few weeks I'll have a specific one for our South Asian diet. And I think that's really important. I wanted to really bring it back to our food and what we eat. So just to kind of really break this down, eat the rainbow. So eating a wide range of colors of plant foods. That means eating a massive range of fruits and vegetables. And that includes all our Indian vegetables, all of our Western vegetables, all the vegetables that we get in the UK. In the UK, we're very lucky. We do get such a wide range of different things, whether you shop at your supermarket, your local vegetable shop, your Indian shop. I went to the Indian shop on Monday, and it was just lovely to pick up certain things like tindora and karala and all sorts of things, which you don't get necessarily in all the supermarkets. Although I know that some Asda's and Tesco's, if they're based in areas where there is a bigger Asian population, they do sell some of those, which is wonderful. But that also includes the things like the fresh herbs that might be the methi, the fenugreek, or the dhana, the coriander. So we have to kind of remember all of those things are really nutritious and they count towards our vegetables and fruits. And so each time we eat, we want to go for all those colors. We want to have at least 3 different types of fruits and vegetables and really aim for the color. And we want to have more vegetables rather than fruits, partly from the sugar perspective, but also vegetables, colorful vegetables are high in fiber, and our gut microbiome, which are this beneficial bacteria in our gut, love these colorful fibrous foods because they eat them and they produce things that we can't actually make. So that's, looking back to that fiber rich diet. When we talk about fermented foods and probiotics to support gut health, our gut health is basically as an ecosystem, as I shared before. So we want to kind of keep it as diverse as possible. Now, unfortunately, with our as our diet's westernized, our gut microbiome has become less diverse, and we want to basically help it. So the first thing is to eat a wider variety of different fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes, lentils, all those things, because that supports our beneficial bacteria. And just as we all have our own favorite food, they all have their own favorite foods too. So that's really important. And then the second thing is to think about fermented foods. So when we come back to fermented foods and probiotics, so things like achar, pickles, those are fermented foods. Live yogurt, so when you make the dahi at home, that is live yogurt. You can buy live yogurt too. When you make chas, buttermilk, that's live. So that's full of probiotics and live bacteria. So we really want to kind of come back to that and add those kind of foods back into our diet because they're really, really important. I know there was a phase where in the 80s, everyone kind of made their own thing. So my mom talked about Mira, the kind of starter, all the time. And then we sort of started using ready-made yogurt from the supermarket. But if you are going to do that, that's fine. But just use live yogurt with live bacteria because that's super important. If you do eat fish, we want to really make sure we have oily fish and seafood. So that would be like things like salmon and trout, which has our omega-3 fatty acids. And if you don't eat fish, that's absolutely fine. But looking for a probiotic, omega-3 supplement. So you can either have a fish oil or you can have a vegan version, which is really going to support, because it reduces inflammation in your body, which can support our immune system and also helps your brain health and supports our immune system in different ways. And then making sure we have different sources of protein. So if you're vegetarian, that will include eating things like all the different lentils and beans, but also maybe you want to add some tofu into there. You want to have paneer and yogurt. Those are full of protein. If you eat eggs, include those things into your diet. All of this is quite important. But if you don't eat seafood, then your diet might not be high in zinc, but things like chickpeas are high in zinc. So it's really important. Now, in this country, obviously not today because it's really sunny and hot. In the winter, between October to March, we don't get enough sunlight to make vitamin D in our skin. So we do want to supplement. And as we're darker, it actually takes more vitamin D from the sunlight for us to, makes more sunshine for us to produce vitamin D. So I would suggest, and the government suggests that as we've all been inside over the last year and a half, that we supplement with at least 10 micrograms. And I think that's something that we have to be very careful. And what we're starting to understand is how important vitamin D is, not just for our immune system, but to help with protect us against diabetes, cancer, heart disease, all of these different things. It's involved in so many disease processes. So please do supplement with vitamin D that you can take actually all year round. And because we're not outside enough to produce enough, even in the summer, because obviously in the summer we're often all wearing sunscreen and things like that, so our body can't produce enough vitamin D. And we can only store it for between 4 to 6 weeks. So even if you've had lots of sun in the summer months, in the winter you might not be, and then you'll be deficient. And that we know that people who are deficient in vitamin D have gone on to be more likely to have issues if they're infected with COVID. So this is really important, particularly as our But the South Asian community has been so affected by COVID and COVID deaths, and we have to really remember to look after our immune systems. And we also know that reducing sugar and alcohol is really important for supporting our immune system. And that means like not adding sugar to our curries and sharks and things like that, reducing any alcohol that we're drinking. All of these things depress our immune system, and we have to be careful of those. So vitamin D, as we just mentioned, vitamin D is really important for so many aspects of health. It's not just a vitamin, but it's a hormone, and it's important for our bone health. It's important for regulating our hormones, but particularly for regulating and managing our immune system. And it is also anti-inflammatory. So vitamin D rich foods include things like milk, eating seafood, eating mushrooms which have been in the sun, or you can obviously take a supplement. And if we have a low vitamin D, we know that increases our risk of disease. So it just becomes really important for why we need to have vitamin D. So exercise movement. This is a picture of me a long time ago. Clearly, I'm not that slim. Going for an open water swimming triathlon. But we all know that exercise is good for us. But do we know why it's so good for us? So not only is it super important for cardiovascular health because it increases our kind of good cholesterol and reduces kind of the triglycerides and the fat in our blood system, improves our mood, our brain chemicals. It can improve muscle strength and endurance. Now, with muscle building, our South Asian communities are very prone to diabetes. And I'm going to be talking about this on the 13th of August with my good friend, Dr. Natasha Patel. But by increasing muscle mass, we can actually use that as a buffer for insulin. So the more muscle mass you have, the more of a buffer you have, and the more that you can reduce insulin resistance. So quite important to be exercising. It promotes better sleep, it supports your sex life, but also supports your immune system by improving regulation. Now, exercise, the more you exercise, your body kind of sees it as a bit of a stress. And so it starts working to fight against the stress. And the more we exercise, the more the body becomes used to this stress and releases all these immunological cells, like the T cells and B cells. So it becomes much better. It's basically like a really good kind of tracking camera in our bodies to see what's actually happening. And the more we exercise, the more this tracking camera works, and it can survey and see what's actually going on in our body and pick up any cells or any pathogens, any kind of thing bad that might be trying to attack us. So it's really important. Exercise is also really important because it delays age-related onset of dysfunction. What does that mean? That means that it stops us aging. It keeps our bodies working. You've all heard the thing, use it or lose it. And this is where exercise is important. And it doesn't mean you have to go and do triathlons like me. I don't do triathlons anymore, by the way. What you do need to do is just get some movement in. So that's walking. It could be dancing. It could be like doing little squats while you're watching TV. It could be just doing some movement anytime you're just kind of waiting. So if you're making the chai, you could use that time to do a few squats, do a few little press ups against your kitchen counter while you're watching the chai so it doesn't, boil over. So those are kind of things which have become really important to kind of looking after our immune system. Now, Mira did touch on this, and she talked about stress and how stress is so important for our body. So mental health and stress can affect our immune system. Now, in modern life, so if you think about stress, acute stress is something that happens, which is very short. So it might be something like, in the olden days, it would have been like a tiger chasing you. Basically, your stress level would increase, your cortisol levels increase, and that would give you adrenaline, and you would run away from the tiger, and you'd be fine. Now, in modern day life, it might be something like, I don't know, you're walking along the street and a car nearly hits you, and then you kind of step back, and then your stress levels come down. Now, unfortunately, in our modern lives, chronic stress is a real problem. This is stress, the type of stress that goes on for days or weeks and months even. And that might be something to do with our work, our family situation, relationships, anything that makes us really think about these things over and over and over again. And we really can support our immune system by practicing stress-reducing activities. So that might look like meditation, breath work, yoga, anything that brings the parasympathetic nervous system, that's the vagus nerve, and puts us into that rest and digest mode. That is all really important. That's all going to affect our immune system. Now, when we're under chronic stress, our immune system is suppressed. And that also could be loneliness. We've had a really difficult time in the last year and a half, and we know that loneliness can also kind of come up in our bodies as chronic stress. So really connecting with your friends and family is a really important part of looking after our immune system. So this particular slide's great because it has kind of some of the most important things that we've already discussed. So one is reducing stress. Number 2 is exercise. Number 3, avoiding antibiotics. I know it's very common for us to not feel well and go to the doctor and ask for antibiotics, but we're becoming a very antibiotic kind of heavy system, whether it's in our farming or whether it's through our bodies. And we have to remember that we can become antibiotic resistant. So trying not to take antibiotics unnecessarily. And when you do, take some probiotics with that to help renew your gut, because antibiotics are not always specific. They kill all bacteria, whether they're good or bad. So we have to remember to try and reseed our systems with good antibiotics. With the supplements, that means, taking probiotics or vitamin D, as we discussed, eating diverse foods. That's eating a very different and colorful diet. We're so lucky because our natural Indian diet is full of herbs and spices. Those provide very powerful polyphenols or antioxidants, anti-inflammatories. So eating all the kind of ginger, the garlic, the chili, the turmeric, the cumin, all that's packed with really powerful nutrition. So keep adding those things in. My whole thing is add in as many different fruits and vegetables and high fiber foods as you can into your body, rather than taking things out. And when you're full, because of the fiber, then you won't want to eat some of the other things. Now, eating fermented foods, obviously in our natural South Asian diet, that looks like yogurt and chash and buttermilk and things like that. But you could add in some of the other things like kimchi and kefir and sauerkraut and things like that. Pickles, achars, sometimes they're really good. Or not if they've got lots of sugar and salt, but if they haven't, then they're great. And reducing kind of sweeteners and sugar. So sleep is so important. And Mira did obviously allude to this in her kind of Ayurvedic perspective. So it's our circadian rhythms regulate our body. And this is when our body can tell the difference between day and night. So it's really important for us to get out in the morning, first thing, into the daylight, because our body switches hormones on and off through that system at nighttime. It's really important for us to lower and dim the lights because that gets our body ready for sleep, and sleep is important for our immune system, but it also helps increase melatonin, which is our sleep hormone. And so that's another thing. And if we don't have enough sleep, which I know I haven't had in this hot weather, we need air conditioning, then when we're sleep deprived, our adaptive immune system, that second line of defense, can be affected. We don't have some of the immune kind of molecules circulating in the same way in our body, and it reduces the effectiveness of our immune system. And that can lead to infections, also malignancy like cancer. So we need to be really careful of that. And what we mean by the autonomic nervous system is something that includes that parasympathetic system, which includes the vagus nerve, which includes breath work and the yoga. So we can switch things on and off and support our sleep with those things. And it's important that sleep is so important for so many reasons, and I haven't really gone into it, so I wanted to talk about the immune system today. So I've kept it there, but just know that looking after sleep, so sleep hygiene is important. So dimming the lights. We're all on screens all the time. We're on screen now, we're on our phones, we're watching TV. So at nighttime, try and stop using screens at least an hour, if not an hour and a half, before you try to sleep. Use blue light blocking glasses, because that's really important. It'll help to reduce the blue light you're getting, and that will mean you're still getting the same melatonin production. Have a cool shower or warm shower to help you reduce, kind of feel sleepy. Our body needs to cool down by at least 1 degree to go to sleep. So that's why it's so hard in the summer when it's really hot, because our body can't cool down enough. By having a warm shower, it can help to do that. And keeping your kind of room temperature, that kind of 18 degrees will help also to do that too. So whether that's using a fan in the summer or having the windows open so you get circulating air, all of those things can make a difference. And try not to eat too late, because if you eat within 3 hours of trying to go to sleep, your body's still digesting, and it's really hard for it to kind of digest food and then kind of go into that rest, phase too. So it's really important to not eat too late. Oops, what's happening? Aha, so I'm just going to go back. So that's high sleep. So we talked about exercise, we talked about a diet, we talked about sleep, we talked about stress. There's obviously so many other things which can affect our immune system, but these are some things that we really need to be aware of to make sure that it's working optimally. For me personally, I work with one-to-one patients and support them with nutrition functional medicine. But I also do a lot of work with cancer and diabetes. That's where an area I specialize in. And obviously I'm going to talk about I'm going to come back to the screen. Hold on a second. How do I do this? Hide. Oh, there we go. I'm back. I'm back in the show. So we are going to be breaking this down. This is a bit of a kind of a quick chat today about the immune system. I know it's something that we're all finding really, really important when we're still in this COVID time, as kind of infections are now increasing. So just kind of coming back to some of the hygiene things, please still continue to wash your hands when you come in from outside, wearing a mask. If you need to physically distance a bit and be outside, do that, because the rates are really going up in the UK. And if you haven't been vaccinated, please do go and have a vaccine. It's really important to help support us and to make sure that our NHS isn't overwhelmed with kind of COVID cases, because sadly, because our metabolic health has been compromised, and I wouldn't say genetically, it's mainly through kind of the lifestyle and some of the stresses we've had as immigration and things like that. It does mean that we're more prone to things like diabetes. We're also more prone to complications after COVID infection. So this is all stuff that's affected by our immune system. So that's why it's really, really important to do so. Hold on a second. I feel like there's an extra. Oh, there we go. Back and forth screen. I would like to answer some questions, but I realized I don't know how to do that. So I'm going to actually I had kept some time to do that, but I don't know how to do that. So we will probably leave that there. And what you can do is you can find me on social media. I'm mainly on Instagram, which is at The Urban Kitchen. I am on Twitter at Urban Kitchen, and I'm on Facebook too. Look for Urban Kitchen London. And I do run regular group sessions talking about cancer, diabetes, all sorts of other kind of ways of optimizing your health through all of these different things, not just through nutrition, but through sleep and exercise and stress relief. And I write about that regularly. So please come and find me on social media. The other thing I was also going to share is a little bit more about the sessions that we've got coming up over the next few Fridays. It's really exciting to be involved in South Asian Heritage Month and have some of these topics. So next Friday, we've got a fantastic session. We have a panel discussion about how cancer affects the South Asian community. Now, that is going to be, we've got some amazing cancer professionals on there. We've actually got very lucky to have 3 of us who are health professionals, plus we've all had cancer ourselves, all from the South Asian community. We'll be talking about culture, religion, black magic, all of these things kind of affect our experience of cancer when we're South Asian. But also I'm going to be launching something really fantastic and new, which I've been doing particularly to help support the South Asians in cancer, and that'll be next Friday. The following Friday, the 6th of August, I'm actually away, and my lovely friend Faria J, a dietitian, she specializes in diabetes and portion control and kind of really adapting things to our South Asian diet. She does talk in Urdu as well. So please join her for that on the 6th of August. And then I'll be returning on the 13th of August with my lovely friend, Dr. Natasha Patel, who is a diabetes consultant endocrinologist at Guy's and St. Thomas's Hospital. And we'll be talking about ADAPT. ADAPT is the program we created back in 2004, which has been updated, which specifically helps South Asians with diabetes. And we look at all of these things. We don't just look at our diet and glucose control. We look at exercise, stress, sleep, gut health, so many different areas. And this is all evidence-based science. So we're really excited to welcome you to that particular conversation. And I really hope you'll join us. All of these are recorded, so you can watch them back afterwards, even if you aren't able to join live. And if you do have any questions, if you contact me through social media or email me at info@theurbankitchen.co.uk, I will try and answer them in the following sessions, and we can take it from there. And I'm just going to leave it there today because it's been a lovely Friday morning. The sun is shining. I know the weather's going to change in the UK. So I want you to go outside and get that sunlight, support your immune system, go outside while it's not too hot without sunscreen for 10 or 15 minutes to get yourself some vitamin D. And I will be back with you next week. For any of you who haven't really logged on to any of the South Asian Heritage Month events, there's so many fantastic events about culture, literature, mental health. This evening, I'll be back on at 6 p.m. with my friend Mara, and we will be looking at South Asian women in sport rather, and what the barriers are. So please join us at 6 p.m. today. There's going to be a whole array of different bodies from different sports, including kind of triathlon and skydiving and all sorts of different things where we haven't maybe been included in the same way. And then I know tomorrow, Sunita, a friend of mine, is doing a lovely poetry session. There's a bounce bhangra, I think, on Sunday morning. So all sorts of things. And this evening, I know there's another panel on Gujarati influencers, which I'm going to be watching, which I'm really excited about. There's some lovely dance things next week. So I really hope you will join all the sessions as much as you can. You can watch them back at any time. And thank you to Ruby, Benita, the whole of the South Asian Heritage team for having me and for organizing this event. They do this for free of charge. They do this on top of their day jobs, which are hugely busy. So please, can we just say a huge thank you to them for putting this amazing event on and for giving the space to South Asian people, particularly in the UK, to kind of connect with their heritage and remember what a rich culture we come from. Wishing you a really wonderful Friday morning. Take care, and I will see you soon.